Are we starting?
Hey everyone, and welcome to Grenades and Horseshoes, where we strive to bring good times, good feels, and general shenanigans every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Hey, welcome.
Welcome.
Episode
Hey everyone.
17. That means the next episode of Grenades and Horseshoes, our show will become an adult.
Yep, we'll be legal.
Yeah, episode 18. I need to really close one of these buttons until that happens. You know, A little bit too much chest area there. I'm Mark Square. This is Lala.
Hi everyone.
This is Grey Ghost.
Good evening, everybody.
We're happy you guys came by to check us out. We're going to talk our week in gaming here. So there was a reveal this week. I played more Destiny than I have in many weeks this week. How'd you guys do this week?
I did play a decent amount of Destiny this week.
Mm-hmm. Nice. The raid last night, and then we attempted that challenge mode a few times. Mistakes were made on my part. I've been beating myself up about. I made the same mistake twice, which is really kind of. I'm like, you make it once, okay. You make it twice, all right. Like 3 strikes, I was out. So I'm glad we quit. Like I'm glad I didn't get struck out. I was actually worried before we started the raid due to cocktail reasons. I was like, my friends are all going to hate me after this raid. I can tell. I can feel it in my bones. But I did okay. I did all right besides the double mistake at the end. But yeah, I had a good time. Iron Banner was this week. I've been playing the absolute dog wee out of Iron Banner day after day. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Has it been any better than the first time around?
I liked it the first time around. It's Clash this week, so I was happy about that. I like Clash. It's something that you can talk and have a good time and just play and not worry about with your friends, which I like. So yeah, I've been are you asking like, or was there weird lag or anything? Like, I didn't notice anything.
I just remember I was particularly very salty the first time that Iron Banner came around. And if you go back to like episode 7 or something, there's a whole segment about grinding Gray's gears about Iron Banner. And because of that, I actually haven't been interested in jumping into it, especially because I haven't been impressed with the proposed changes yet. And if we go back to the big thing that I wanted to see in Iron Banner, it was a change back to 6s, right? Make that the only time that you can play 6s and have it be kind of crazy. Not this 4v4, highly skilled, coordinated, have it be something that is different than the same old. So, and again, we kind of went back and we're like, hey, there's no difference between Iron Banner and going into quick play, except you're going to get control every time. Otherwise, the experience was very similar. So are you feeling the same way now that you're going through it this time?
No, because I like Clash. Like I said, I'm playing it for social reasons. So Tech, girl, she was on for the first time in a long time today.
She was?
Yeah, she's got the flu. So for some reason, we're on opposite sides of the planet, but we both caught the same illness, and we're home from work, both of us. So got a chance to play with her, and we did some quests and stuff like that, and then jumped into Iron Banner once we hit the 4th player in the party, and I had a blast. It was really fun. Just catching up and talking and playing Iron Banner. It doesn't feel any different than normal PvP still, though. I don't know that it will. We did chat some. Did you play any Iron Banner this week? Gray did not. Did you play any, Yuna?
I played one match last night before the raid. I went up to Shaxx. Not Shaxx, but Lord Saladin. There was no quest this time, which I thought was weird. And for some reason, my Guardian is taller than Saladin.
What?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
It's weird. He towered over me last expansion, so I don't know what is going on there with the aspect ratio. But I'm taller than him. I'm like, he's literally, his character model is looking up at me, and I'm like a female hunter.
What? Okay. So he's
I thought that was weird.
Shrank in the wash, is what you're telling me.
Or he's sinking through the through the platform or something. He's off place or something.
All the salt.
He's shorter than me.
He's
it
dried
could be
up.
osteoporosis. I mean, it really could be. He's older. You know,
He's very soft.
He's a little wizened.
bit hunched over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
No,
those salad.
I played one round. I went in solo. I got paired up against a full team of Dads of Destiny.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Awesome.
it was kind of a show. I can't say the swear word before that. But I mean, we still ended up winning, but it was so uncoordinated.
Right, because you're with a bunch of blueberries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I really
a whole different
so I'm
challenge.
gonna try hard this week to do it. Even though it doesn't feel special, I still want the gear before the gear goes away. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm game to play it. I'm having a good time. So I don't know, I think Yuna, you're avoiding the reveals at this point. You don't want to actually see the stuff, so you can feel free to plug your ears a little bit. But I watched the reveal. Gray, did you get a chance?
Yeah, I watched it last night, or I should say, I made a valiant effort to watch it. I got about 20 minutes into it, and honestly fell asleep. Fell asleep at my desk.
Is this a joke?
No. And I didn't I didn't mind the reveal. We talked last week about how in general I am kind of like Yuna. I don't want to see these reveals. They did way too much, released way too much with Rise of Iron, and I wasn't happy watching those reveals, even though it was interesting content. Whereas this time, that first reveal, I was actually really excited, and it got me thinking about Destiny 2 and getting excited about Destiny 2 again. And then this reveal, as they started into it, I don't know if it was just the introduction and the fact that we'd already seen some of the content and what the locations were going to look like, that when they threw those back on screen, they didn't capture my attention like they did the first week. And I've been working kind of crazy hours and whatnot, so I was also just very tired and ended up dozing off here in my office chair, and then woke up a little bit later and had to rewind the stream and watch it back again. But I did watch the full stream, so I do know kind of what Bungeee showed us in that.
Yeah, right. I saw the trailer, and even then I'm like, oh, this is too much. This is too much. I don't need to see anything else.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's really hard to control. It's almost like, with the Star Wars trailers, right? It's like, I love Star Wars, but I want the element of surprise. I want that sense of wonder. But also I'm conflicted, especially, with the, the D2 trailers and all that stuff, just because, I'm on the show and I want to be able to speak to everything, and everyone knows this. But at the same time, it's like, ooh, I'm like a purist in that sense, where I want to be able to like go in there and just be like astounded at what I see and discover it for my own. So
yeah. And I think each of us, we were pretty adamant when Destiny 2 launched that we wanted to be as in the dark as possible. And I've come to terms, for me personally, I have decided that I'm okay for DLCs to know what's coming, especially because the scope of these DLCs is small enough that I'm not going to get the same kind of hype that I do for major releases. I still very much want to stay in the dark for major releases. And then if they follow this pattern of full game, DLC, and then expansion, like a major expansion,
like full,
I'll probably want to stay more in the dark on those major expansions there. So every fall I'll probably stay away, but then for these interim DLCs, bring it on.
Yeah, same. So like I don't care about spoilers, because I don't care what happens in the story very much. It's not that I don't care. It's like I'm not that involved where it's this event for me. More than anything, it's about hanging out with my friends and shooting aliens together. So that's why I don't mind watching them. And I'll just kind of talk about what they talked about just really quick. And this won't, it's different. I think Yuna's thing is like actually visually seeing it is what she doesn't like. Like you're seeing all the locales, you're seeing the enemies, you're seeing how everything works. So let's talk really quick, the huge public event, right? Number one, the first thing I noticed when they start going into this was the gun sounds, right? Like the sounds that the guns were making. Like one of the shotguns sounded like invective. Like it sounded so good. It was amazing. And then they start this giant public event where basically it takes place in different islands in the patrol area. Some of them are not accessible unless you're doing the event. You're getting shot by Vex cannons around, and basically what you're doing is killing gatekeepers and using the keys to move the encounter forward until you reach a larger boss at the very end. You guys hear a weird going sound?
Yeah, I hear that. It's almost like a hiccup in your voice.
Let's try muting up individually. I'm going to mute mine and tell me if it goes away, guys.
Nope, still there. Okay.
Hold on. Let me mute.
Oh, yeah, that was it.
My husband's watching wrestling. Give me a second.
You better watch out going in there. He's been practicing them moves, watching those moves. He'll use them on you. She'll walk into the next room and he'll fly off the top rope. Yeah, so let's see.
We'll just hold on this, Mark, because we'll have to edit it out of the only version, so we don't want to move on until she comes back.
I agree. Grizzly in the chat calls it wrestling. It's so perfect.
This will give us a chance, since this will just be the video version. Grizzly, welcome. Welcome. Happy to have you.
Yeah. Anson says he tried maintaining the wonder before he got the game. A month of hell trying to avoid everything that was being tweeted. It is. It's like that. Like you're trying to avoid spoilers. You're just really, really like dying to not know. But the thing is, like, is the story really that great in Destiny? It's not that great. Come on. Like it's fine. It's fine. But I understand visually not wanting to see things. And actually the reveal that bothers me is the one where they show you all of the armor. Because I decided before the final release of Destiny 1, they showed you all the armor sets from all the what was that called? Age of Triumph raids, the updated raids, and I instantly decided which raids I cared about doing and didn't based on what that armor looked like. So for me, seeing the armor ahead of time, it's like, well, that's an activity I don't really care about anymore because that armor is butt. But then they start showing really cool armor, I start getting excited. But
all right, so we are at 13:45. I'm making a note to cut here.
Okay.
Yuna, did you sumo plex him?
Do some wrestling moves?
No.
No.
You seem really defeated.
He had to go upstairs.
Oh, poor guy. It seems like he might have done wrestling moves on you. Based on your reaction.
Go upstairs, so.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Right, so we're going to have kind of a hard cut here, and then Mark will just go straight to you.
Okay. All right. And so the next thing that they discussed after the big public event was the Lost Prophecy. There are 11 verses, so there are 12 spokes on that wheel, the forging wheel, where you're getting weapons. But one of them is like there's like a wire running into it, so it takes that one out where it was hacked. Now, this is the big question I have on this, right? So you do the quest, you come back, you don't forge the weapon, you put something in there and it gives it to you. It's just like a big slot machine, drops the thing out. But, okay, the gun was called Jack Queen King 3. So is that the third weapon on the wheel, or is that the third version of the Jack Queen King?
Ooh, I think version.
I hope version.
Or
does
the name just happen to have a number in it?
Oh crap! That's a third option I had not even thought of. Yeah. Okay. So what we're hoping for though is more grindable things to happen. Things that we can look forward to on and on and on, and get different versions of the gun. That would be great. That's what I'm hoping for. After what we saw, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if that's what's what. All right. So that's the other thing. Let's see. I've got a little more info here. All right, so there are 2 new strikes, but this is kind of an interesting thing. When you're playing the story mission, if you're by yourself, you can do those strikes by yourself, and it will scale the difficulty back so that it feels like part of the story. And they said what that does too. Yeah, me too. So what it does too is they said it makes the strikes feel like more a part of the story permanently, even after they scale up and you bring your friends in. Oh, remember this part of the story when we were doing this or that? Whereas in the past, strikes have kind of felt a little bit disjointed from the story itself, in the same way that kind of raids sometimes are a little bit separate from the story itself.
Well, in Destiny 1, some of the strikes were part of the core story arc, weren't they? That you actually had to do the strike to continue to move through the story progression? Or was that never a thing?
No, you never had to,
no,
but like you would reach a certain level where
you'd get like a mission where you could go do it, or it would open up that node on the map, but it never required you. The only time that I think we may have been required to was Omnigul.
Yeah. The other thing to keep in mind is now, obviously, the way that the missions are presented in the campaign are presented in a very clear, linear way. And what I'm actually thinking of is when I launched Destiny with the Taken King, that's when I jumped into the game, they did start the questing system. But that was the closest thing that you had that tied your story arc together, was the questing system. Even before that, you were just clicking on nodes that unlocked on your
because we didn't have the questing system before at all.
So my very first experiences of playing Destiny in vanilla Destiny wasn't this, okay, I'm going to connect the story arc together by the missions that unlock. It was you go into whatever had just unlocked, and I thought that was part of the story. I thought that the strike just unlocked, so I jumped in and I did the strike thinking that was part of the progression of the story.
Right. And they would matchmake you with people, and that's what they mentioned, that sometimes, say you're doing the campaign, you're having this wonderful like custom tailored experience, you get matchmade and you happen to get two blueberries that are just standing there. Like I mean, that ruins the whole thing, kind of the momentum of the story and everything. So I feel good about the fact that they're worried enough about the way people are taking in their campaign that they're willing to do something like that, go through the trouble to do that, even though it's something that is maybe more on the front end and not in-game related. That being said, it's only been 2 months into the game. Even if they take all the feedback we've given them, we want more satisfying in-game content. It's not going to happen in a single expansion. That's just not reasonable. That's not how the universe works. We got
to be patient. I mean, in this time of year, I mean, December is busy for everyone. So with this amount of content and December coming and, whether, you celebrate certain things or not, this is a very busy time of year for people. Stretch it out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't worry about rushing through things. I can definitely understand the drive to want to finish everything right away, but you don't have to. I feel like if you really push yourself beyond what you even are comfortable with, you're only going to shortchange yourself in the end. You got to pace yourself. I mean, it's not going away.
I agree. Well, we had this great idea because everyone was doing that, on that final expansion of Destiny 1, where basically when Oli started. And she said, we should have a fitness challenge where we have to complete a certain number of miles in real life to unlock the next story mission. and nobody can do it until everyone participates and everyone gets a certain amount of miles, in or whatever. I was like, that is a great idea. Like, that's like augmented reality type stuff, and then it's like a big,
Everyone gets an Apple Watch, and you're all friends on the Apple Watch, so that they actually did it, or you get a Fitbit or something.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, you're like just nagging each other about exercise so you can play the next story in the campaign. But the reason that will never happen is because of the raid race, right? The way that the raids are released, in my opinion, too soon after the content comes out. So anyway. Yeah, it is what it is, though. Okay, so the next thing, they did an adventure called The Up and Up, and it was basically an adventure that goes into the Infinite Forest, which I was super pumped about. I was super excited to see the way that worked. And so basically, they did say that we were very right last week when we said it's probably procedurally placed, but it's all designed. They were actually referred to them as Lego blocks that connect via, that'll be connected. Yeah. Also, Hive were there, Fallen were there, So you guys were right about that. Like, blew my mind. And
You're smart.
I know. Okay, and so this is I do like for, even though I'm not much about story, I like for it to at least make sense in the universe. And I was like, how is that going to make sense? But this is awesome. So what they said was, the Vex are basically running a simulation to determine what is going to happen if this party wins, or if this party wins, or if this encounter goes this way or that way. And that's what you said.
Did I say last week?
You said, yeah, you said it, but then like Deej said it, and he like had that, that beard and stuff, and and he looked all official with his hat, his army hat. So
I mean, I have to grow a beard? I don't want to.
No.
I have enough hair as it is.
Just wrap it around. No, but so like I was very, just the way that they put it, like, okay, so the Vex is running a simulation to determine, though, this was the kicker, right? To determine what would happen given any outcome, so that they can try to choose the best course by running all these simulations, which I thought was amazing. That's awesome. So it's like a reason why there would be something like this even happening in the lore. Like, why is there this Vex controlled simulation going on at all? Well, it's because they're trying to mathematically figure out how to destroy the universe, or whatever their end goal is,
Yeah, just replication, but this is what I wasn't happy about with it. The Lego blocks I'm fine with. That's very close to the tiles that we talked about. Procedurally generated, yes and no. I would say that the order, which it's more RNG, right? They have this, they have a set of blocks which need to stack in a particular order to create a pathway from A to B. And you go into the infinite forest at A, and then you go to these terminal endpoints, which take you to a programmed or synthetic version of either a future, a past, or a present. And that's the end. That's the B. So from A, that is content that is hard-coded and it's going to be the same every time. B, that is also content that's hard-coded and it's going to be the same pretty much every time. They might have a different final boss you fight. They might have different ads that are in there. But in terms of the environment, the level, where the ads probably spawn from, that's all set. That's not
right.
There's no randomness to that. And
they also use
this pathway between. And the thing that I didn't necessarily like was the actual tiles, the Lego blocks that get stacked to get you from A to B. The environment, the textures on them are only Vex, right? That's what we saw. There might be different ads on each tile as you work your way through it, but the environment itself, every tile, the texture pattern on it looked exactly like the next tile. And what bothered me about that is I think we're going to very quickly get into the pattern of knowing, okay, now we've got another Vex, random pathway to get through A to B. And the experience is going to become repetitive because the environment is so similar, regardless of how you go into it.
Yeah, I'm trying to use, because I get hyped about horde modes and this type of a thing. I love it. But I'm trying to use a little bit of a reality on it. They did use a phrase that actually kind of gave me pause, and they used the phrase end cap. And what they said was that the end cap was very curated on all the experiences, which what that tells me is that if there's an end cap, there's a boss. Yes, there's a boss. And end cap means that, okay, there's going to be like a section of blocks that probably spawn the same way every time. And once you get to that, then you're like, okay, well, this is one of the bosses that we fight every single time. We're going to go here, here, and here. So I really, I think like what you said, Gray, like, was it last week or week before? You're like, why not have something that's completely procedurally generated? Because then, well, at least it's like it is different every time, and you can't guess what's going to happen. And even if it ends up in a little bit of a weird thing. Now, there was different.
What I challenged them was to make the algorithm so complex and so refined that we could not pick up on the pattern. And I feel like what they showed us and what they described to us is like, okay, last time I went left, then up, then right, then up, then right. And this time I go left, right, up, and get to the same endpoint. Like, that's not different enough.
15.
15?
I think there has to be at least 15 different endpoints. Otherwise, it's going to be too similar. I know, like, I mean, people might think 15 sounds like a lot, but
we would get that down.
I didn't think it needs to be at least 15 different endpoints, to be totally honest.
Caps, I mean, they've only really told us 3 end caps, right? We've got Dark Future, we've got the Bright Past, and then we've got the Present.
Right.
Yeah, but different bosses at least.
Hopefully within that different bosses, yeah.
I think 15, like 5 each, but it has to be at least 15. Also, otherwise, it's going to be too similar. People aren't going to want to grind it over and over again.
Yeah, and I was chatting with everybody, you know, on PlzZz's channel and not watching super close, but you know, the Prison of Elders had some alternative way, like, you know, you had to disable mines and you had to do like some of these mechanics as you went. And I didn't notice that much going on. Did you, Gray, as far as like extra mechanics going on? But you know what? It wasn't the actual Infinite Forest either. It was an adventure that went through the Infinite Forest. So it was almost like an introduction to the environment. So we've not seen it completely yet, you know, as far as that goes. So, you know, I'm hopeful about it. It is one of those things where I was probably more excited about it until I saw it. So there's validity to Yuna's delayed gratification strategy. I admit that. Totally admit that.
You mentioned horde mode, right? And my understanding of a horde mode is where you play through the experience and complete the round, and then it resets into the next round and difficulty just escalates. But there's no like it keeps on that pattern until you fail because the difficulty has just gotten above your skill level.
Which I don't think that's what this is exactly either.
But that's how and I could see that being a very interesting dynamic in this, where when you get from A to B and you beat that final boss, that the next time you go through, you go through a portal or whatever. We've got those crazy Vex triangle-looking portals into the Infinite Forest, and it takes you back to the start. And now you're on round 2, and difficulty just increased. And you take your fire team through, and you get slightly better rewards. And then you do it again and again, and you keep going through these cycles to where the rewards get better.
Yeah,
the higher you go through them, the higher the level.
I would be totally into that, especially like each run, like, you know, it's hard to say because that was an adventure, but like, let's say each run lasts, 15 minutes, that, and you're going to run, you could run 4 of them in an hour, but I mean, like, are you going to get a checkpoint? Like, or are you going to have to like straight 3 hour it to get like to the end too? You know what I mean? Like that's another thing, like, hey Joe, welcome in the chat. Okay, so that was pretty much the end of my notes from the live stream. I really thought it was great, and I'm looking forward to next week's too. If they do start showing too much armor, I might cover my eyes for the hunter section. But other than that, I'm game. I'm having a good time. I think it's one of the things that I enjoy about it is just that we get on a smaller channel. We've been going to twitch.tv/DezSaras, DEZSARAS. And we've been watching it over there together, and he like live streams it, and we all kind of talk about it, chat about it, and type about it while it's going, which is, it's almost like a little event in itself, where we're not actually playing the game together, but we are hanging out and talking about it. And I think that's fun. I like that kind of an event. I'd like to see more things like that crop up as well. So anyway. So let's go on to the first segment of the week, the section called Destiny Squared with Mark Square. That's me. So the last 2 weeks, as you know, Yuna came up. Well, she didn't come up with this game, but she was a teenage girl, and so she knew about this game called MASH. And I didn't know about it. It stands for Mansion, Apartment, Shack, House, right? And it has to do, you get together with your girlfriends and you write down all these answers and you tell them what their future life is going to be like. And so we're going to do the Yuna Mash today. And what we're doing is we're putting a video game spin on it. We've done it the first week. Gray did his, and then I did mine last week with hilarious results. But everything has to be answered in the video game world. So we'll go ahead and start. Where would you live in a video game world, Yuna?
See, now, like,
three picks.
I've had a definite advantage on this. And this one's still a hard one. Because typically when you think of video games, and I go back to all the video games I've played and all the video games I loved, there's always something wrong with the world that I have to fight against in that video game.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to start, because we are a Destiny podcast, and I love Destiny, the world of Destiny, but during the Golden Age.
Ooh, good pick.
Yes, during the Golden Age. And I die before the collapse.
All right. Okay.
You get the full benefit of the Golden Age.
And then you become a guardian after the traveler arrives.
Very true. Not that I remember it, but...
But you're pretty sure it was nice because your hair is coiffed just right. All right. So Destiny Golden Age. Where are we now in the show here? Are we on Io? What's our background here?
That looks like Io to me. Yeah.
Okay. So Tech and I climbed onto the top of this today and looked out over this, and I was just stunned at how beautiful the world of Destiny is. So I can't imagine in the Golden Age.
Mark Square. You guys have a picnic too?
Yeah, we took a photo. I tweeted it.
A little sightseeing.
Yeah, Tech was actually, she was talking about she has found a nemesis in real life, which I'm excited about because I have one as well. It's great fun. You need to do it. Yeah, it's someone who just
they're working you on your toes.
They're working against your purposes all the time in a playful way, and so I was teasing her that like what she's feeling there is just sexual tension. Really, it's not really a nemesis. Anyway, sorry, tangent. But the Golden Age of Io was probably even more beautiful. So let us continue. What's your other two choices for where would you live?
My other choice was from Final Fantasy XI, Fana DL, which is the world of Final Fantasy XI.
Okay.
And the third one's such a hard one. I have such a hard time choosing this one because I come up with those two right away. The third one, let me see. Okay. I'll do a throwback then. I'll go do a throwback from like when I was a kid. The world of Donkey Kong.
Oh, Donkey Kong. Yeah, there's a lot of pits in that.
We're all apes.
Damsel in distress that you have to save while dressed as a plumber. Okay. All right. Who would be?
But like Donkey Kong Country. Not like the original Donkey Kong, but Donkey Kong
arcade version.
Where like Diddy Kong and everything, yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun world because you're like grabbing bananas and like all this physics is happening and it's very colorful. There's a track. It's almost like being at Disney or something.
Yeah, you're on the track and you're riding. You have to jump the track and yeah. I fell into many a pit.
Oh, ditto. Oh,
I had no coordination when I was a child.
And it was all about timing too, and it would just like the nervous would build up over the course. Okay, sorry, I'm getting on a tangent again. Okay, who would your best friend be in video game world? Who the three picks?
Definitely Kate Six.
Your
buddy.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
He's everybody's best friend, Kate Six.
He's amazing, yeah.
Let me see, who else was it? Lulu from Final Fantasy X.
You're going to spell that.
Lulu.
Oh, Lulu. Okay.
Yep. She's very sassy, but she's very maternalistic. And I'm the mom. I usually am the one taking care of everyone else. So it'd be nice for someone to watch over me.
Oh, nice.
And she has fantastic fashion sense.
All right.
And number 3?
The third one is my best friend. And see, I always come up with 2, and the third one's the hard one. Let's see. Oh, I'm gonna get a little sentimental. My fire team.
Aww. That's us. I'm gonna pick that
counts,
one.
Right? Because you guys are characters in the game.
We are, yeah. I'm the one that makes you wipe on the raid all the time, though.
But you're kind of fudging the rules. You have to pick one best friend.
That's not fair.
One
That's not fair.
Who is it gonna be?
Who is it, Yuna? Who is it?
Used one
Can I
on Lulu.
Don't make me choose. It's not fair. It's cruel.
You can pick both of us. Dang, this is not the threesome I had in mind. All right.
But I'm manscaped. Oh, so wrong. Okay, weapon of choice.
Raise lighter.
Raise lighter.
Raise lighter. Ranged and close by, and I miss that sucker so freaking bad.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that was pretty
Ranged.
I
Are you talking
effing
about
love raised lighter?
the one with the frisbees? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
No.
Oh, that's not raise lighter. That's
Oh no, not raised lighter. Boltcaster.
Boltcaster.
Oh,
That's
Boltcaster. Yeah, I miss it so
That's-
much I can't remember its name.
Still
I put it out of
raised
my
lighter,
mind.
That's the one I used too, because it was great. You just like frisbee into a big old group of like goblins, and then just like bzzz, and drop.
I think
Yeah.
raise lighter
let's
had
be
the
real.
highest impact though.
Yeah,
It did. It was
did,
yeah.
but it wasn't the most fun.
No. No.
Let's be
Okay.
real. I'm chasing the Walmart Hunter figure specifically because it has a Boltcaster.
I looked for it today. I went into a Walmart. It was truly a terrible experience, but no, they did not have it.
Well,
So-
let me
You
tell
should-
you, my
You should
local
go
Walmart.
tomorrow or Thursday,
It's-
Mark. It'll be way better.
It's been a month. It's been a month. I consistently go to my local Walmart. They still have 51 in stock, and none of them on the floor, and they will not get it for me.
Wow.
Ah, it is so frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially since they're going for $80 online. They're $20 in the store. I'm not going to spend $80 when my local Walmart has 51 of them.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
We have
Yep.
one weapon, Boltcaster.
One weapon. My other weapon would be Yuna's Nirvana from Final Fantasy. It's a really awesome staff.
I remember.
For
Well, I don't
channeling
remember Yuna's
mystical
particular one, but I remember Nirvana staffs from other Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Sweet.
this one's really cool. It has phoenixes off the side, and it's just
Ooh.
And it smells like Teen Spirit, which is why I like it.
yeah, it's her ultimate weapon. So once you do that, you unlock her cap of 9,999 damage. So I played Final Fantasy X so much that I could melee the final boss to death using just Yuna, who is a white mage, by the way, and her staff.
We don't see color. Okay. What's
You-
the next last weapon? Third weapon?
we got to give her props, okay? Like she punched the final boss to death, and then your response is, "We don't see color." That's amazing. That's cool. That is cool. Like that's a nerd burn on Gray and I. We never did anything like that. You win the
Never.
nerd battle tonight.
Yeah, I did. It was the most. I played it that much that I took her from white mage to just straight melee and just. I could 3-shot the end boss. Which is
Wow.
really bad. It's just the first time I beat him, it took like 20 minutes.
You're like, this is unacceptable. I have to up my game.
Yes.
I have to hit everything in the game with a stick until I can come back and hit this guy and he'll die.
Yes.
It seems like a noble goal. I can get behind that. Okay, choice number 3, weapon.
Choice number 3. Oh, I had it and I lost it. What was it? Let me go in my brain file cabinet. Where did I put that? Oh yes, from Skyrim, my voice, so she could just shout things and just destroy.
Wow. That.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
man, it was the most fun thing ever. I could just run up to, skeletons and shout at them, and they would just like crumble.
Mhm.
I could shout things off cliffs.
Ha!
Fantastic.
Like you just say really hurtful
Satisfying.
things. People die. Your
Yeah.
thighs look fat. This woman just crumbles in the grocery store.
That's mean. I don't do that.
Okay. Nice mom jeans. But then they would still die.
You're rocking those LuLaRoes.
You also have the boots with the fur. Okay. What about vehicles? Your 3 best video game vehicles.
My Hildian Seeker from Destiny 1.
Oh, that was a great one.
I love that ship. It's so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have anything like that in D2.
It's
So I
true.
miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to fire up D1 just so I could look at it on the loading screen.
Yeah, and I don't mean for this to be a long tangent, but in general, I have also been underwhelmed with the ship design in Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get excited when a ship drops to be like, ooh, I wonder what that looks like. In Destiny 1, I certainly did. I thought that
Mhm.
there was enough variety and something about the actual animation and design that made me interested in it. Destiny
Mhm.
2, I haven't looked at my ships in
Yep.
ages.
See, here's the thing with the Destiny 2 ships. I feel like there's 5 or 6 base shapes and then just paint designs that change with your shader.
Well,
And
what happened? Just not. Okay, what happened to me though? The exotic ships, right? They're the superior version of all the shapes, right? So once I got Ariana's Vengeance, not only is it the part of the lore I actually care about, the paint job is amazing. The shape is perfect. Like I don't even look anymore because I know that's the one I'm gonna want to use. Like all the time.
I don't have any exotic ships yet, but anyways, that was a small tangent. We have
Right. Number 2 vehicle.
okay, number 2 is the Highwind from various Final Fantasies. It is your airship that allows you to travel very quickly across the land.
Airship.
And you typically unlock it very much towards the end of the game, where it opens up, and otherwise it's a very linear experience most of the time.
Cool.
Allows you to skip random battles. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So it's like
number 3 ship.
The Starship Enterprise.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, because it has the holodeck. You just you pick that. You just
Mark
get
goes
everything.
straight to the holodeck.
That's right. I want to be in a Western. Jeez, come on.
A Western.
You do realize your vehicle requires like thousands of people to be on it.
It's still a vehicle.
It's true.
Can I be Sulu? Is that possible?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, hasn't it been destroyed in every one of the reboots of the Star Trek movies, or just the last 2? It gets destroyed a lot these days.
Yeah, that's fine. They can always rebuild.
Yep.
I always get upgrades. It's fine.
That's right.
Gives me a sense of wonder and danger and advancement. Yes.
Okay.
5.
Yep. Favorite food.
Favorite food. Okay, so from Skyrim, the apples. Because apples gave 1 health. And the best part was you could pause a fight and just eat 100 apples. Excuse me, while my kleptomania self eats all the apples I've pulled out of all of the drawers that I rummaged through.
And then okay, I need another pause to have horrendous diarrhea because I just ate 100 apples. This is why I love Skyrim and all those games, though. Just the situations are just it's kind of real, but then it's also kind of the not realest thing ever.
Excuse me. Let me just pause while I mow on this wheel of cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Don't judge. I'm going to try to eat this wolf meat.
Yeah, it doesn't give me as much energy as if I cooked it, but it'll do.
Yep.
Oh, wolf meat. Weirdest poops in all the land. Okay. Skyrim apples, and then?
Okay, then from Final Fantasy XI, Melon Bread Plus. So there's a story behind the Melon Bread Plus. So with the Melon Bread Plus, it's plus because it's a high quality proc. So to make it, so what it gave you was it gave you improved MP regen. And as a red mage / black mage, I did a lot of casting. Mm-hmm. So I needed that. That was the premier food for regening mana. It was the highest you could get. But to craft it, because it was crafted, you had to do it on a specific day of the week in game. Whoa. At a specific time frame, during a specific season.
What the bananas?
Yep. You had to be facing a specific direction.
What the crap?
Where you could craft it with a pretty reliable proc rate.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was really in depth trying to get these things, and they sold for a lot of money. I made a lot of gil doing it. Yeah.
Wow. So you could sell them to other people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no, in Final Fantasy 15 we can sell things to other people too, We can craft things and sell them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
Finger paintings? No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, not your skill level.
Okay, number 3, favorite food.
Favorite food number 3. Oh, the pow pow. Oh no, not the pow pow fruit. The sea salt ice cream bars from Kingdom Hearts in Traverse Town.
Ice cream bars?
Those
That
sound
sounds
amazing.
great. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So your mentors in video games.
My mentors. So I want to choose Orin from Final Fantasy X because he's rough, yet it has his chewy, chocolatey interior.
We don't see color. Number 2.
It's tough love. It's the tough love. Who else? Who is my other mentor? Mickey from Kingdom Hearts. King Mickey from Kingdom Hearts, for sure.
King Mickey and your fire team. What? No?
You have my mentors? All the way around. No, I'm just joking.
Very true.
You're my best friends. You guys can't be my mentors and my best friends.
That's true. Oh.
You're breaching the gap there.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a professional level gap there.
We're not professional. That's why it works.
You're not professional.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see. What was my third one? Let's see.
Mystic really liked your answer of the Enterprise, by the way.
Oh,
and
nice. Yes.
It can be run solo for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Onsen knows some stuff about Star Trek. Knows some things.
Let's see. What was my third? Trying to remember.
Okay.
It's a good one. Oh, Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, that's a great choice.
Yeah. He was my third one.
Yeah, the eye patch too. You can get away with things on one side of them.
Yeah.
Vacation spot.
Vacation spot was Besaid Island from Final Fantasy X.
Besaid Island. Okay, number 1 and number 2.
Number 2 is let me see. What did I pick? So Middle Earth counts because there's lots and lots of Lord of the Rings games. So Rivendell.
Man, yours are good. Sheesh. Quality of life is going to be great. Okay. Third?
Third is let me see. Okay, Titan Before the Collapse.
Titan pre-collapse. Oh, yeah. All right. I like it. Okay, spouse in game.
Okay. So this first one's going to be really funny.
Okay.
It's probably going to make my husband blush a lot.
Did you say my fire team? You shut up. You're grinning ear to ear, too. Okay.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
I'm just going to take a drink.
Yeah, here we go. Take a drink.
Okay. It's going to make your husband blush more than what Gray said?
Right. Well, from Skyrim, when I played Skyrim, I played through Skyrim like 5 times. Because I effing love that game.
Mm-hmm.
Farkas. So Farkas was one of the companions who's also a werewolf. He's a little dirty, but it was okay because he was strong.
Right. You watch Twilight movies?
And I always picked him because if my husband got a little dirty and he was a werewolf, he would look like Farkas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's kind of romantic.
He looked like my husband.
Actually, that's I'm getting a little teared up. You can go on.
My second one would be Cullen from Dragon Age Inquisition, because he was also my in-game husband and boyfriend or whatever. No, we got married in the end credits. Yeah. When I played through Inquisition, which I also love.
I haven't played that.
It is so good. You really should.
That's what I've heard. I've heard that many times.
Yes.
No co-op though, so it's out of the question. 3.
So I feel like I should pick something from Destiny because we're the Destiny a Destiny show.
Mm-hmm.
Shax.
Oh.
He's very enthusiastic.
He is. I don't want to think about why that is a good thing. The horn got broke off somehow. Like I'm not really sure.
He does everything with gusto.
Gusto. What'd you say, Gray?
So I knew the horn was going to come into this discussion.
Okay, we've reached the end. So you tell me when to stop, okay?
Okay. Stop.
Okay, that's 4. 1, 2.
And while Mark fills out Yuna's video game future, I'd just like to say another thank you to everybody that's joining us in the Twitch chat. You can catch us live Wednesday nights at www.twitch.tv/Mark Square. We're also on the G&H show, Twitch as well. Mystic Rose, Onsen, happy to have you here. Average Joe, Lawn Boy, all of our friends of the show. Mark is still working through Yuna's selections, but he's coming up here to close pretty quick.
Onsen, my son was looking at the second one I got, and he goes, "It looks like a stapler."
Yeah. Some of the ships,
Stapler ship.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit bad because at PAX West, I actually talked to one of the animators in detail. He had been brought on just during Destiny 2's development and worked on some of the animation that the ships do. Really neat guy. Had a great conversation with him. And granted, I think the ships themselves do move better in space, especially when you get 6 of them loading into an environment, as rare as that happens. The downside is I don't think he actually got to work on the geometry or the actual art design of the ships themselves. And Bungie's got a lot that they're going to be working on with this game over the next few years. Maybe ship design isn't going to be top priority for me, but it is something that I think they kind of also taken a little bit of a step back compared to Destiny.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get more models. I mean, like, it is early on, and I think a lot of people forget that. I mean, we had 3 years worth of items that were created. We had a lot of variety, and that's because it was 3 years. You're not going to start, D2 with all of those, especially where they had to wipe the slate clean for, many, many, many very valid reasons. And, we might bellyache a little bit, but we still love the game, and we're still going to play it, and we're going to bide our time. So
sure.
Yeah, we're going to, All
right,
we need to compare it to vanilla if we're going to compare. All right. So you're gonna live in Donkey Kong Country with your fire team. You're bringing us into that jungle with you.
Yeah.
Hey, whoop whoop! We're riding that cart together. That's pretty awesome. All right. Your weapon of choice is going to be the bolt caster. That'll be handy along the rails. You'll be shooting some electric frisbees at some monkeys. The vehicle will be the high wind airship, so we could just get up above the jungle, just hang out. We're just taking it easy.
Yep, get the breeze in our hair.
We'll be eating sea salt ice cream bars. That's what Gray wanted. Your mentor will be King Mickey. Hey,
nice.
This is like a total cartoon life. Vacation spot you will go to is the Titan pre-collapse.
Yeah.
That'll be nice. And your spouse will be Farkas, which kind of is already.
Because he always is.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I love it.
Nice.
Yeah, Yuna's mash. I'm kind of envious of your mash, to be honest. Like, I feel like you made better choices than Gray or I made.
I also had 2 weeks to think about it.
Yeah.
So for just a quick little recap, I know that I get to powder Callus's folds on a nightly basis.
For the rest of your days.
Got to keep my man happy. Mark Square. Who'd you marry?
I think
Lara Croft.
Lara Croft. Yeah.
You got lucky, man. And with the exception of Farkas having such a dumb name. I mean, Farkas just sounds ridiculous.
It's like a random name generator. Who made this name?
Yeah, like you're such a Farkas, right? Like it just sounds, with the exception of that.
What if my name was Fark instead of Mark? That would be awful. Oh, sorry, Gray. I cut you off. What did you say?
Just that, Yuna's husband I'm sure he's a wonderful person in real life, and I guess in your gaming life, you basically get to pretend it's the same person. So there you go, Farkas.
That's pretty amazing. Farkas. You and Farkas rode happily off into the sunset.
All right, we are coming at the 1 hour mark on the show. And
what?
What, Mark?
I can't believe it.
What?
We're going overtime. Going overtime
A
again.
little bit. We got one segment done in our hour-long show. We only got a few more to go. Destiny Squared is wrapped up. Our 3-episode MASH segment is wrapped up. And we're going to move right into one of my favorite and most I'm so excited to jump into this segment. We have been joking in our GNH producer chat about a segment we call Bungeee PlzZz. Bungeee PlzZz. So
Bungeee, please.
essentially, there's been plenty of salt about the Destiny 2 reveal streams. If you haven't been exposed to it, just go on Twitter for a few minutes. Maybe go and jump on Reddit, and you're going to see that most people that are the hardcore Destiny community members are a little less than happy about the state of the game and the changes that are coming. Mainly that it's just not enough. But with that said, Bungeee PlzZz is a segment where we recognize that it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. And so these are some of the changes that we could have asked Bungeee to put into the game. And we tasked our producers to kind of brainstorm some ideas of, let's say, Curse of Osiris was going to add some other changes. How bad really could Bungeee screw this thing up? So I'm going to hand it over to Mark Square, and he's going to list some of our favorites from our producer chat.
Okay, so the one that I came up with was, what if the sandbox was updated? Right, everyone's waiting to hear about that. But the only change was they just nerfed pulse grenades. That was the only change. That would be amazing.
Bungeee, please do nothing but nerf pulse grenades. Just that.
That's right. Okay,
Sorry.
so Gray, what about yours, Gray?
Okay,
Tell
so
him
my
yours. You've been
Bungeee,
trolling
please.
me with this hard.
Yeah. Bungeee, please give us double token weekends. If there's anything in this game that we love, it's tokens.
Freaking more tokens.
We just want double tokens on weekends. Double token weekends. Hashtag DTW. Get it trending, my friends. Hashtag DTW. Double token weekends. Bungeee, please. Bungeee, please.
Half token weekend. Half token weekend. If we could do half loot, half token. Oh my gosh. Okay. Connor, Kanye, he said a slot machine scene for when you decode and turn in tokens.
Yeah, so you go to decode in Ingram, and literally a slot machine shows up on your screen and drops your weapon.
Yeah, Ikora, Shax.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So triple exotic shows up, you get some good loot.
Call a spade, right? RNG is RNG. Just put it in the game. Put it in the game, Bungeee. Please, Bungeee, please.
Give us a visual representation. I can't speak. Visual representation.
Yeah, it's like reminding you what a dirty gambler you are. Like, that's a great idea. Bungeee, please put it in there.
What else?
Longboy says, "What if Eververse sold tokens?"
Eververse selling tokens.
We wouldn't buy any.
We can't get enough tokens. Double token weekend. Hashtag DTW. And Eververse needs to sell tokens. Or even better, just when I decode a Bright Ingram, all I want are tokens from it. Just give me tokens for my Bright Ingram, Bungeee.
I don't want the loot right then. I want to have to walk somewhere else to get it. I don't want it right then. I want to stop that. When I buy my Pop-Tarts, I want them to be called Pop Tokens.
Please. Bungeee, please.
When I go to the postmaster, I want even more tokens there that are just frosted tokens. Just frosted tokens. Okay. What if the ultimate raid loot was this hat? And you could throw it at anything else that wasn't wearing a hat. Does this sound familiar, Greg?
Bungeee, please give me Cappy. I need Cappy as an item in the game that I can throw onto anything not wearing a hat and turn into that thing. Bungeee, please give me Cappy.
I knew it was for you. What do you got, Yuna?
So what I would love for Bungeee to do, Bungeee, please give us a VR portion of the game. But you know what? Don't make it shooting. Make it Fishing.
Fishing. That would
Fishing.
be a good.
And you can call it,
call.
I don't know, Monsters of the Deep.
Oh.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, you know what? That's taking up Final Fantasy 15. But you know what? Instead of getting fish, when I fish it up, you know what it gives me? Tokens.
Tokens.
Please.
Yep. Fish for tokens. I like it. I really like it. Bungeee, please. Mini games. Maybe so it's behind a paywall. That'd be good. Let's have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And then we get to fish for tokens. Bungeee, please.
But it's the only path to Destiny 2 Gallarhorn.
Oh, Indulgent Human says D2 has more tokens than Chuck E. Cheese.
That's correct.
Yes.
Well, that's true because Chuck E. Cheese works off cards now.
Oh, they do? What? Oh, they even ditch tokens. Hey, wait. I've got this idea for our game. It's something that Chuck E. Cheese no longer does. So there's a hole in the market. It's tokens.
It's tokens. Yes. I think you've hit it, Mark.
Okay. So Jelly has some great ones here. He says this comes straight from his salty rear end. I don't know how to take that. But okay, so here, Jelly Belly, Battlefront loot boxes, just like with the Star Wars. That was great. That was good
worked
PR.
very well for
everyone
EA.
Loves those.
You could pay for them.
Nobody
That's
was
great.
salty. Buff pulse grenades and give Titans a third pulse grenade.
Bungeee, please. Titans need a third pulse grenade. That's not even a joke, right? That's not even a joke. We need a third pulse grenade on Titans, right? Right.
One less, no kinetic weapon, but one extra pulse grenade. I mean, nobody's using that anyway. It's fine.
Don't even need it.
Okay, so Nerf Hunters.
Nerf Hunters, Bungeee, please. Hunters are ridiculous in the game right now. Nerf them.
We're so OP. I roll into PvP and my shadow shot just instantly kills everyone within a 5-mile radius.
Yeah.
Bungeee, please.
I mean, you get unlimited shadow shots for 3 seconds. So Bungeee, please nerf that. Nerf that down, please.
Oh my gosh. All right. So he says, copy paste. What if they copy pasted Prison of Elders but pretended it's new content?
I mean, Bungeee, please. We need reused content that's just skinned over. We need it, right?
I would play that. I would play it.
I know you'd play
I know that's a joke, but I would play it. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's
all we got?
That's what I've written down from the. Thank you to all the Grenades and Horseshoes producers. We really appreciate you guys, and we have a team chat, and we all get in there and get silly together, and spitball ideas for the show, and just in general talk about Destiny. And a lot of what we talk about in there inspires us for what we say here on the show. So really, hats off and cappies off to you guys over in the.
To everyone. Yeah, and just to remind everybody, we do love this game. This is tongue-in-cheek. It could be worse, right? EA could be the producer instead of Activision. It could be way worse, right, guys? Right, yeah. So we mainly want to bring this out to say Trials or Curse of Osiris might not be everything that we want it to be. It certainly is not going to be everything that the Destiny community wants it to be, but they're going to make moves in the right direction, and the worse that we treat them as people, and they're developers, they have families, they have homes. This is a job for them that they have a passion for and they love. They work hard and they want to make content that is rewarding for us as players and that we are happy with, right? Anybody who does good work, they want the people who benefit from their good work to be happy with what they're doing and the content they're consuming. So they're getting there, and we have faith in them. They are getting there. It's not all going to change overnight. It's certainly not going to change in 2 months, 3 months since the release of the game. And this is a long journey in Destiny 2. We're going to get probably 3 years in this game. And the end, right, a year and a half from now, it's probably going to be a very different game than what we're playing today. Bungeee, please don't do any of the things that we suggested. Please,
No,
except
this was just
3 pulse grenades. Please give me 3 pulse grenades. Please. All right.
Sorry,
Moving
I had
right
sirens.
We're going to go to Gray's GG's. This week, it's Gray's Good Ideas. And basically what I want to discuss with you guys is they told us 3 years ago that Bungeee and Destiny was going to be a 10-year journey for us. My hope is that that isn't an end date. I actually don't want to see this end just 7 years from now. I think as long as this IP is profitable, as long as we as gamers continue to show interest in their product and Bungie supports the product as well and even better in the future, maybe this game isn't going to be over in just 7 years. So with that in mind, I want you to try to imagine 10 years from today. What do you guys imagine your experience in the Destiny universe is going to be like? What are you going to do when you say, I'm actually going to sit down and I'm going to play Destiny? What do you guys imagine that's going to be like in 2027? We'll start off with Yuna.
I want to play with my daughter. I really hope she gets into it. I mean, she's into it a little bit, but she's so little now that I can't enjoy my time with it. So,
yeah.
Like, I want to be able to, like, sit side by side and just enjoy the same world with her.
Yep.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Very much so. Okay.
Me?
Mark,
Me?
What is your experience? As detailed as you can kind of imagine it, what would you want 10 years in the Destiny universe?
Well, there's no way I'm topping that emotional outpouring. Thank you for making me look shallow, but I'm going ahead with it because that's reality. Mark is shallow. So Mystic mentioned something in the chat, playing Destiny on a holodeck, and that's exactly what I have in mind. I don't know if you guys read the book Ready Player One, but there's like this whole setup that the guy uses to move around in the world, and he's basically in what amounts to a giant hamster ball by the end of it, and he's running through the world. And then not just that, the way that VR works, I don't like stuff touching my face. Like, I'm not into it. I do wear glasses, but I don't want like a big heavy, VR rig. I have the PSVR. I'm just not a fan. It's frustrating, and I don't like it. I don't like it on my face. And so I would like to see like she said, like a holodeck. So like, where it can actually put things into the room with you, right? And you're able to walk, and the floor actually moves to where you can run almost like a treadmill that works in 360 degree, at a time, right? So you can move on it. And I realized there would be like a learning curve to like learning to move and run on something like that, and there would be a whole lot of programming that would go into that. But that's the way I would love to see Destiny go, to the point where, do you remember when Pokemon Go came out and all of us nerds were like, what is this outside? What is this walking miles with my phone? And then the portable battery market just took a leap. Yeah. So anyway, it would be like that. It would be like, man, it stinks that I've been not doing anything physical for these last 7 years. I should have been getting ready for this moment where we're all in this room and in the holodeck playing Destiny. So that's what I would love to see. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo some of those same sentiments. The idea of virtual reality or holodeck experience, I think that 10 years, maybe the technology would get developed to the point and the cost would get down for consumer level, but I am actually kind of doubtful that we'll get that far. I think they will improve the technology enough for VR that in 10 years, I'm very confident it'll feel much more like putting on a pair of glasses. That will be your VR experience. It won't be this full headset. And that's probably a little bit more appropriate and a little bit less just cumbersome to use. The biggest thing that I've been trying to wrap my head around is these haptic feedback gloves or bodysuits. And they're very early in development, but I think 10 years is enough time for it to get to consumer grade level. And it was, I believe it was Polygon or Engadget that had a pretty good article this last week about a startup that is making these haptic feedback gloves, and they are using some very interesting technology in the fabric that it's woven into the fabric, whether it uses air, right? So it'll actually fill up. Almost like imagine these gloves as being pixels, right? There's pixels all over these gloves. And you can program that certain pixels on those gloves will inflate and cause pressure against your fingertips. And certain ones won't. and the tests they've done, the early tests in virtual reality, it's actually so sensitive that you can hold your hand under a simulation of rain and feel individual droplets.
What?
Right?
Oh, wow.
So
They're
awesome.
that far along, right, with this technology. On top of that, the prototype they're working on now actually uses fluid. It uses liquid in the same manner as air. And the thing that they can do with liquid, which is also really exciting, is they can do temperature. So they can do hot and cold.
Oh, wow.
With
Can you
it.
imagine you have you're like casting a spell and it's like a ball of fire and you can feel the heat in your hand?
Yep.
That would
Nice.
be so sick.
Now, the other part of this rig involves a little bit of motorized control to restrict certain amounts of movement. And the idea on this is that, let's say that in your simulation, you are squeezing a rock, right? You take a rock in your hand. You should not be able to make a fist around a rock, right? So in the simulation, it has the geometry and the shape of the rock, and you put your hand around it. Well, there's these motors and actuators on the outside of the glove that actually keep you from being able to squeeze down on that rock so far that you can compress it. Like, you're not strong enough, well, in theory, to break down the motor that's holding that in place.
Right.
Oh, that's
So-
awesome.
Here, I've tried to imagine what this would look like in the world of Destiny. And the first thing that got me really excited, and a problem, I feel like this is such a core problem in Destiny 2, is when you pick up a weapon, it does not feel different enough from the other weapons that you're using, right? You go from one pulse rifle to another pulse rifle, or a hand cannon to a hand cannon. And granted, there are advantages and disadvantages, but in Destiny 1, the experience with the weapon actually felt more different going from weapon to weapon in the same archetype. I'm not talking about jumping between archetypes. When you go from hand cannon to pulse, obviously they feel very different. I'm talking just pulse to pulse to pulse. The variation between them doesn't feel that different. Now, what would it be like if you're in a virtual reality type environment, a simulation, and you're using these types of haptic gloves, and you physically are holding the weapon? And the motors, right,
Oh, wow.
are actually keeping it so that when you're holding the gun and you can actually feel it, right? You can feel around it. And when you're pushing on it, you're hitting hard spots and saying, oh, these are the crazy square-like geometries that are on my sleeper stimulant. I can feel them. I can feel the crazy coil piping that runs along them because the haptic feedback, those little air bubbles or the fluid, as well as the motor actuators, are stopping your hands from moving.
Or you touch the side of the cold heart, you can feel the iciness.
Then you get the temperature in it. And I was thinking for most of these weapons, as you fire them, and like literally, right, you'd be holding the gun and pulling down on the trigger, you would feel the trigger click because the haptic feedbacks would tell you that, right?
What if like if you ever like fire a firearm, a lot of times the casings like land on you. Like they'll like shoot, like if you're under a cover, it'll land like right. You're like feeling like bullet casings like landing, like you're using Sweet Business, and it's like raining all over you. Like
There's that. There's the idea of the two things that really got me kind of really just excited about this technology. One was feeling the temperature change of the weapon, right? Most weapons, as you shoot them, are going to get warmer in your hands. And that would be a crazy sensation to have.
It gets warmer at the end of the clip.
Yeah.
And then you've got a weapon like Cold Heart, which actually gets colder as you fire
Weird,
it,
dude.
which would be kind of crazy.
So
Yeah,
weird.
it's like, blowing a can of compressed air. It gets colder.
So let me ask you this: you say you pull out your rocket launcher. Would there be a way with a haptic suit to make that feel heavier?
Yeah.
With the full suit, I think that it would be possible. With just the gloves, I'm not sure how they handle weights to feel.
Right.
Like how do you inflict a force downward on there without having some reference that can push down on it?
Well, I mean, they could inflate and put pressure on your skin.
They could put
but
pressure
no.
on your skin.
Like there would have to be something that would pull from like the back of the shoulder down, that would pull your arm down, right? That would make it feel like there was a weight on it.
Yeah. I mean, they would have to go full Lawnmower Man on that.
Yeah, it would have to be like a fully covered suit.
And you've got 10 years, right? I think they're going to work out how they make this experience really work with the technology. The other side of it that I think is, so one side was the temperature change, actually feeling the guns change temperature as they are used. Feeling the size of the weapons, I think, would be very interesting. When you pull out your sidearm, you can hold it in one hand, right? It's easy to wield or even dual wield. And then you pull out a weapon like the Black Hammer, and it's this big long sniper rifle.
Pull down.
It takes two hands.
How do you handle
You
the
can't hold
balance?
it in one hand because it keeps pulling down, and you can't keep your reticle up on the screen. I'm not even saying this has to be in VR. You could do this just with your normal TV screen and have it so that you're manipulating this weapon. But some weapons take two hands. The other thing that I think is going to be really exciting is the stability on the weapons will be noticeable. You will feel the weapon bounce around as you as it kicks, right? You feel the kick of the weapon with a haptic feedback type rig. Now there's some drawbacks. There's some things that I can't wrap my mind around, right? This is using at least one hand, but in a lot of cases, two hands just to control your weapon. Granted, you can aim, you can move around if you're using VR type glasses, but how do you move your person?
Right. Okay, I've seen something.
They have the treadmill type devices that you can use, and I'm sure that you can develop those to the point where one of the big drawbacks right now is nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of gamers are not fit enough to run through an entire level at full pace on one of those treadmill type devices without getting extremely winded. As a healthcare professional, I think it's a fantastic idea. But
have you seen the one that
they could build something in with like leaning with your feet and everything. So even if you're sitting down, you can pivot your feet and put different pressure sensors on your feet.
Like a Wii Fit type thing, like where you would lean forward. Okay, but what about this? Have you seen the one that goes around your waist? It suspends you at the waist. It's like you're sitting in like a, what's the thing that a baby sits in and they push around like a stroller or whatever?
Yeah, like a bouncy.
Not a stroller.
Thing,
yeah, but it's like they can move around in it and everything. They put you in something like that, and you put on like slick socks, and there's like a slick floor, and you're actually like, just any socks, I guess would be.
That's a recipe for slipping.
Well, it suspends you. See, like you're held up.
Oh yeah.
You're held up, right? So you could, then you can move your feet around. But yeah, okay. Get this. This is the first thing.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, the first thing that comes to mind, right, with the haptic and the bullet casings and all that stuff, and like you're using the guns. Like imagine we're in a fire team, right? And I know that my cartridge ejects from the right hand side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand right next to Gray, like right next to him. I'm just gonna
go to try to
fire fire off an entire clip of SMG to where the casings they're just pelting them in the side of the head, just.
Or you fire your whole clip on your sidearm, and you take your sidearm after you fired the whole clip, and you know it's hot. It's hot as hell, and you just
put it on your neck.
Push it up against your fire team.
And then,
man, that thing's
that does not sound very friendly.
It doesn't.
Young men.
Imagine
Don't
this.
make me mom you guys.
Imagine this though. In the game, what can I do after I troll you guys? I can do an emote that's like, "Aren't I cute? Hey!" But in the game, I could just like literally give you a hug. I could be like, "Sorry about that, man. Sorry," and you would feel it.
Yep.
It'd be amazing.
It would be. So they'd have to. So there's one thing about just movement, and I thought a little bit about how we as people typically we walk in a zero radius type pattern. Right? We can spin and turn around, and we don't necessarily have to make an arc. So I was thinking about being on a platform that you could adjust your pressure senses, move forward, like push both your feet forward to move forward, push 1 foot forward, 1 foot back to go zero radius, turn backwards. And that could work, and you could adjust to it. I think we could get there, and then with better rigs, you could walk on one of these treadmill type platforms. The other thing that's going to be tricky is how do you perform movements which are specific agility type movements per your character? How do you do a dodge as a hunter that automatically reloads your weapon?
Yeah,
when you're using a haptic feedback, and you can't push bumpers. You can't go into your super and push bumpers. How are you, Mark, as a striker titan? You're gonna start running around your house, fist pounding as you're doing your super?
Well, Well, I mean, what they can do is they can do, specific hand gestures. Because I used to think about this a lot when, VR first came out. And I'm like, ooh, how do I play World of Warcraft like this? How do I do my weapon skills? Mm-hmm. And you think about it, and you think about, just input options. Being able to do like specific hand gestures could be an option.
Okay, so the PSVR game, it's called anyway, you get this like weird, the PlayStation Move controller fits into it. I'm so sorry. I went to the doctor. He said I wasn't that sick. I was pretty upset. Anyway, and so your PS Move controller fits into it, and you've got a thumbstick on the back, right? That's on the back of the gun. I mean, you could do something like that. It would kind of break the immersion. It wouldn't feel just like a gun. But you could put like extra, you get your trigger here with your pointer finger. You could use like tall man on a button. You could use like ring man on a button, and like, what's pinky? I don't know. You could use pinky on a button. Pinky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was thinking they would have to pull in some kind of a lore what I was thinking is they could pull in some kind of lore aspect where maybe this light, right? The light is what powers our supers. And why does it charge up, and where is it charging to? Those are things that have not necessarily been answered. They really haven't been asked, but this whole idea of over time your light charges so that you can then do these supers, they could make it so that part of your gear, right, maybe kind of like the Warlock Bond, right, that is what is actually able to contain and charge light, which then gets released when you do your super. So then all it would be is that the actual bracer or whatever it is, you would physically interact with. Maybe you just like touch it or do something when it's charged up. And so you're touching your what I want haptic feedbacks to encourage people to touch themselves to unleash the super.
Once again, going lawnmower man on me.
Yeah. So like that's what I'm thinking though, is like you have like, whatever it is that allows you to do this special maneuver, and then you press on it, and maybe you can feel it, maybe you twist it, whatever the mechanic is, but you have to make it still so you don't break the immersion. Now, this company, Haptics, HAPTX, that they did this whole review on, they have very wisely decided that their first consumer is going to be military simulations. So this type of technology is going to be very expensive, ungodly expensive.
Yes.
They already said that this is likely never going to be the kind of peripheral that is going to be less than $100 for the regular consumer, even if and when it comes to consumer grade. But they could take a unit like this and they could sell it to the military for $500,000 and let the military kind of work and refine the technology. And so I'm thinking 10 years is the window that they probably have to refine this. They will get support through various entities that need to have that type of simulation for training purposes, and then have the resources to do it, like government agencies.
I'd pay $100.
What's that?
All day long. I'd pay $100. I'd pay $200. I mean, how much is
10
this
years?
cost? Oh my god!
I would. In 10 years, this is stuff that might be $1,000, but I think that there'd probably be a market for it if it's been tested. And you get developers on board that have to code for an entirely new experience. So right now, they code the geometry in the game. But imagine the parameters that we're asking them to code for now. You need to program for changes in temperature. You need to now program the size of the gun to the engine of the motors of these haptic feedback rigs. From a development perspective, this is hard work. This is going to be very hard to bring to consumer grade.
Yes.
But when they do it right, and 10 years is a long time, I think that this is going to be a very big part of what I want in the Destiny experience long term.
Well, not even just Destiny. Like I'm not allowed to say where I work, but I wish they would do something like this. It would be ripe for that.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And it's funny because the whole virtual reality thing, it's just not there yet. Even I have PSVR, but Gray, you have the the Oculus, right?
Yep, I have the Oculus Rift. I have the development kit 2, which still works with the modern Oculus games. And I mean, we're getting obviously a lot closer, especially as video card technology develops. That's kind of the limiting factor right now, is how do you get high fidelity graphics? And we are experiencing fantastic 4K 60 frames per second graphics. Destiny 2 on PC is a perfect example of what games can look like today on modern hardware. But then you have to essentially double the rendering time, one for each eye, synchronize them for VR, and add this whole idea of motion sensing to the movement of the head. And so most games, and a lot of the PSVR games that are coming out, like Skyrim VR just came out. Fantastic vomit-inducing game. I have the chance to play it on PSVR. The early reviews are fantastic. But they had to downgrade the visuals substantially to make sure that they could get a high enough frame rate, processing on two. Essentially, you're asking, all right, what's the best texture package you can load up in this game and power it on 2 monitors running at 60 frames? That's what I need the game to be able to do for it to be a good VR experience. And that's difficult, but what I really like about it, it's giving incentive for the video card manufacturers to continue to push the boundaries of what they can produce. And if you look at what, I bought an NVIDIA 970 just a few years ago, compared to the 1070s and 1080 and 1080 Ti. In just a couple years, the technology has progressed so far. And a lot of that is because of this market for VR developing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting. All that stuff's exciting. But, and the thing is, okay, like I'm going to bounce back to Ready Player One, right? The way that the game and that was designed was you could play it without it. You could play it with a mouse and keyboard if you wanted, and then you could upgrade and you could have extra senses and extra, more involved. So, Destiny.
Yes and no. And this is more of a Ready Player One dialogue. They provided very basic units to everybody for like a quarter, right? It was like 25 cents, and you got the most basic VR headset and basic haptic feedback gloves.
You still had to have the low end of that.
The market developed that if you wanted a better technology, you had to pay for it. But they used kind of the Facebook model in terms of essentially make it free for everybody, and then what the company made their money on was selling the real estate in the virtual reality environment. Get everybody on the platform and then sell real estate in the environment.
Yeah, so Destiny has always been like, like even when PS3 was out, they did that, and they Xbox 360, like, so they always kind of like go for the lowest, like, what they want is the the biggest number of platforms available to them, which is smart as a game designer, especially one where that, involves the Eververse.
The content.
Yeah, and then push the content on all those. So, I don't know that Destiny will ever be on the bleeding edge because that just doesn't make dollars and cents to them. But, with Destiny being on the PC now, who's to say that like Destiny comes out and then basically someone writes some kind of a just genius code that, senses what's in games, right? Like you get near something that is coded as fire and it heats up because it senses that you're near fire in the game. It's looking at what you're looking at and that kind of a thing, as far as at least that kind of a thing. But like there would have to, I don't know, like, wow, I'm super excited though. This type of thing, like it makes you really excited for the future.
I think that, VR, they're going to refine and I bet in less than 5 years, a lot of major titles will launch with both a VR and non-VR version.
Right.
I think so 5 years, that's going to be much more consumer grade. And even now, it's fairly consumer grade, but we're talking first generation consumer grade. PlayStation VR is first generation consumer grade. Just wait till we see the second generation of PlayStation VR. And I bet once we get to the second generation of these types of consumer level products, it's going to be at the point where a lot of AAA titles are launching on that platform as well. Yeah. And then I think 10 years, and that's being a little aggressive for how early this technology is, but part part of that is just my excitement, right? Like I want to feel the environments in these games. I want to feel the weapons that I'm interacting with. I just there's so many things that they could do with that sense of touch, which does not exist in games. The earliest experiences we have was the first time you would experience rumble in your controller.
Oh yeah.
And this is just kind of the evolution of that type of technology now, bringing you more immersed into feeling the experience of the game.
Yep. Oh, can't wait.
So, have either of you ever watched the anime or heard of it, Sword Art Online?
Yeah, I've watched all of them, and I really enjoy them. But
yes.
One thing I would just never do, right? And I can't imagine at a consumer level in 100 years that we would be comfortable with this, is any type of sensory stimulation that actually goes directly into our spinal cord, right?
Yeah.
Directly into the brain. So as a healthcare professional, I know exactly, well, I don't know exactly, but I know a lot about where we have progressed in our understanding of medicine and where our largest deficits are. And anything to do with the central nervous system, that's still the Wild West in a lot of ways. There's lots of research being done, but I mean, that's one system that we probably know the least about. Yeah. So I don't trust any technology company to fuck around with my sensory perception directly.
Understandable. It just reminds me of it as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, can you imagine
like hack? Yeah.
It'd be so
Matrix,
realistic, like right into your brain, right into your brain. Yeah. But then, it didn't turn out well for Sword Art Online. There was a nefarious company, and well, I don't want to ruin it, but season 1 was fantastic. Yeah, it was great. I don't want it to happen to me though. Oh my god. Not at all. All right, let's move on to Yuna's musings for this week. She's talking about games as well. So this week
I thought it'd be fun to kind of branch out a little bit and talk about games that we wouldn't never typically think of, ooh, I play this, I'm a gamer. And that is on our phones. So mobile gaming. And I'm not even talking about like Nintendo DS or anything like that. I'm talking about, iOS and Android. And what really brought that up is a new game came out this week that I found myself, I played hours and hours of it. And I'm not the only one. And that is Lineage 2. Now, Lineage is like a super hardcore, like, OG PC game. Have either of you ever heard of it before?
The one where Conan O'Brien crashes through your television? That one?
Oh, the ads? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to try it because of that. Like, he crashed through the television and he talks about it, and then he's like, gotta go, and he runs and he crashes through another television. Is the game probably not like that though? What is it like?
Excuse me. Gray?
I am not familiar with Lineage. No, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of Conan O'Brien. I've never heard of...
What? That's not true. Come on. You've never heard of Conan O'Brien?
Super straight-faced.
Oh, he's wearing his sunglasses. I can't even tell if he's joshing me. He's really good at tricking me.
Yeah, he knows who Conan O'Brien is.
I do know who Conan
Okay. But anyways, I started playing it, just the other day, and I downloaded it at 9:00 at night, and I went to bed at like 1:30.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I know, and it was on my iPad, so like I put it on my iPad, and I have an iPad Air 2, so it's about it's like a 4-year-old model at this point. It's still good, but it's like a 4-year-old model. And it used up so much energy that when I plugged it in, it was charging, and it discharged at the same rate. So it just held fast at 7%. But you know what? Like, it looks gorgeous. So Lineage is it's an MMO. It's totally an MMO. Like, I'm in a clan and everything. It's MMO RPG. And downloading that, playing that and getting sucked into it like that, I'm like, man, I remember when, iPhones first came out and we started, doing like little games on it. Like one of the first little games on an iPhone was like literally an ocarina from like Zelda, but like not legitimate.
Yeah.
Or you
Super
would
Nintendo.
you would blow into the microphone and play the ocarina, and that was like the first game.
Uh-huh.
But when I think about just the strides that gaming has made on a mobile platform, it's really daunting, and it's actually incredibly impressive.
And I feel like there was a vacuum in the game making industry once mobile started to get popular, because all the talent actually moved over to, not all the talent, obviously not all the talent, but a ton of people went to start developing mobile games, because it's like, you develop the game and then you support it on the App Store and you make money really, really fast. Yeah, especially like Candy Crush and stuff like that. Like, like where you're
financially just rewarding. I went to, when I was living in Seattle, I went to a Sounders game with some friends, and I didn't know anybody else that was in this group of friends. I was invited to go along, and one of the developers for Monolith Games was there, and was went to the Sounders game with us. So he worked on Fear and Fear 2 and Fear 3, and those were their AAA titles back in the day. And I asked him, like, are you excited to continue to make these big production AAA type games? And he said, honestly, what gets me excited, and this was back in 2014, is developing for mobile platforms. And I think part of it is it was, at that time, right, it was a new market. It was a new way to engage with consumers and a new way to engage with a different type of consumer, right?
Casual gamer, yeah.
Yeah. And then there is a lot there, and then and now still, right? You can actually release a fairly inferior product, you would argue, compared to a lot of console games, and make a lot more money. Think of like the Candy Crush, like you said, or the Clash of Clans, or the millions of clones of Clash of Clans that are out there.
Yeah.
Very financially rewarding for these developers, and in a lot of ways, not terribly innovative, not something that certainly gets me excited as a gamer, but there's tons of gamers that love that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just like, say for example, and I'm going to admit that I play this game and it's kind of embarrassing. But it's a game.
Is it Destiny 2?
No. 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 I'm never embarrassed to play Destiny. It's a game on my phone called Love Nikki. And what it is it's my character is this girl named Nikki, and she gets pulled into this world of fashion.
Ooh.
Yeah. So like each level is I have to you're rated on different things. I have different clothing, so like it relates to like if I have weapons and spells and stuff. But I have to hit the certain benchmarks to progress, and it is super addictive. I play it every day. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, got my points, gotta play.
Oh, weird. Yeah. So I've not got hooked onto mobile games. It's fair to say I'm addicted to Twitter because I like to communicate with people like all the time. So like it's fair to say I'm hooked on my phone. I'm almost afraid to be hooked on a phone game. Okay, so there's certain games I feel like shine on mobile, right? And it's like, did you ever play The Box?
Was that like the kind of like a puzzle game? You're like in a room, and I'm thinking of The Room, but I think The Box was the first version of it.
No, you're right. It is called The Room. I'm sorry. Yeah, and you go in there and you're rotating around this item, this puzzle box that's on a table, and you're figuring out the secrets to it, and you're sliding pieces, and you're rotating knobs and pulling drawers and this kind of stuff. And it really wouldn't work very well. It maybe would work on VR, but it would be cumbersome. But really, the touchscreen is what makes it, right? So I feel like there's a disconnect, like when you're trying to play a shooter or something like that on a mobile platform, but something like that, it's like super intuitive, or like a game like that where it's like an RPG, and you're clicking through and you're making decisions and things like that. I think it's the right format for it. I would like to find, okay, so I asked Tech today, like she's in that, she's in the TV industry and they make apps and stuff. And I asked her about any mobile gaming that she had either designed or knew that was good. And she said Monument Valley 1 and 2 were really good. Have you tried those?
I have not tried them, but I've read reviews, and they were some of the top reviewed games in the Apple Store.
Here's the thing. Monument Valley is actually technically not a game. It's actually a coding training simulator for children. Yes.
Oh,
How
wow.
awesome is that?
That's cool.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And the fact that it's, seen as fun and it's educational. Yep. Monument Valley 1 and 2 are, at their core, coding training simulators for children.
It's awesome and also a little scary. Like, I don't know that I want to learn things I don't know that I'm learning. what if there's a keyword and I'm activated and I start assassinating people? Like,
or you're like, start being productive in society.
Let me go on my computer. Click, click, click.
Yeah, suddenly I start wanting to do my job.
Mark Square hacker extraordinaire. Monument Valley.
Instead of, faking an illness and staying home from work and going to a doctor who tells you you're not sick.
I'm sick. What in Texas they have the man flu. I have the man flu, which means it's it's like just a mild cold, but it feels like the world is ending. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I do play some mobile games, but I find that my phone screen is too small. Like, I don't really enjoy playing games, but I would say the ones that I do still jump into, I do like card type games or puzzle type games. Threes I really enjoyed for a while, but then it just got kind of repetitive. And then Super Mario Run has been actually pretty good. I think they did a fantastic job with that game. They did. Mm-hmm. I wish they would do something, because I've been holding out actually buying for the full version and unlocking the rest of the worlds. That I was kind of hoping they'd do something like, hey, if you bought Super Mario Odyssey, just enter a code in here and it'll unlock Super Mario Run for you. But no, Nintendo America, I've been giving you plugs like crazy. Just listen to the last few episodes, all right? Super Mario Odyssey is the bizarro best game of the year. Just give me Super Mario Run for free, please.
For free.
When you think of mobile video games, you don't really think about having controllers and everything like that. But did you guys know there's actually a very large range of controllers that you can hook up to your phones and everything, triggers and buttons and everything. And I mean, it makes them look like a handheld Sega game.
Like a Switch. Don't they like go on either side sometimes too? And
they go right on there.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I mean, just the amount of stuff that they can do now is insane. Mm-hmm. And, the future of gaming really is like in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that there will...
Thank you for that ad copy.
Yeah, sounded like an ad copy.
The future of gaming is
in your hands.
Sounds like a Switch ad.
Right in your hands. Up in there.
I think there'll always be a place for the form factor of a console or a PC, because the technology can more space and flexibility with vendors means that you can always always is a tough thing to say, but the likelihood that technology will develop faster with the flexibility of multiple hardware developers competing for your business that PC has, and console to the same degree, because they're going to the same vendor saying, show me the best deal on the best hardware that I can put in millions of units I'm going to sell around the world, will always be, a step above the limitations that we see with Apple, from everything is custom made for the one phone that's going to come out. The competition is a little bit less. Granted, they do outsource, a lot of the chips and things like that, and there is competition there to get those bids. But we've seen the trend that the hardware advances faster on consoles, on PCs. But, I mean, the iPhone 10 is a good example of really pushing the limits of what that form factor can do. And it will always have the benefit of the portability and flexibility. Mark, you and I, we both have Switches, and I try to take it and play on a plane, and I'd much rather be sitting playing on a monitor or TV screen with a controller in my hand. I don't really want to play on a little tiny screen on the airplane, those types of games.
No, that's true. But let's take a step back though. Like, the types of games you're playing on iOS, I think the ones that really shine, well, like think about Words with Friends, right? Like, you don't need a really great processor for that. They came out with a mini golf version of Words with Friends, right? Where you take turns and like, you do a turn and then you send it over to your buddy. And like, whenever he gets to it, he does his turn and you're playing mini golf against each other.
Yep. I played virtual beer pong. I won.
Oh, I won. I lose at all manner of beer pong all the time, sadly. But yeah, so like, I think that's the thing. Like the market for it is more casual, but like was saying, like Lineage has come out. Like all these games are coming out that they're marketed toward the hardcore gamer market. Like, who knows? I don't even. Like Final Fantasy 15 was my first MMO ever. Like, and I'm so terrible at the menu, I can't even like function in there.
14.
So like
14 Mark.
Sorry, 14. See, what a noob. So like, there's games that are coming out on it that are intended to be targeted at a more serious audience, but are they ever going to be as good as what's on a computer or a console? No. Probably not. But, I think the ones that really shine are, to me personally, and that's the thing, there's so much variety, you can take your pick. But for me personally, it's the co-op ones where you're playing with your friends, you're passing things back and forth, you're doing it. It's almost like a text message and a game combined, right? So I do like those. There was a drawing one as well where you would draw things and you would pass it, I think, pictures with friends or drawings with friends or something like that. So all those I think are great as well because it's still about interaction, Mm-hmm. So... But it's fascinating, though. It really is. Like, just that everyone's carrying a computer in their pocket that is capable of playing some pretty decent games.
Your phone of today is faster and has more resources than a computer 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Easily.
And this
and 12 years is giving it a lot of leeway on there.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is, I want to tie our segments together a little bit, Yuna, to say... Part of what I've thought about when Haptic said this is never going to be $100 peripheral. Let's say it's going to be an $800 peripheral, right? Imagine 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. 12 years ago is probably even too far. Go back even just 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Not everybody in the United States had a smartphone, nor was it expected that you should have one. And yet the market developed in such a way that now it's very uncommon for somebody, regardless of your socioeconomic status, to not have some degree of a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you take a technology like haptic feedback? Same thing. Try to model that same progression where the technology feels warranted or needed across all socioeconomic statuses, that you're willing to invest in it and develop some type of a program. I mean, a lot of these were, okay, I'm going to go and sign up for a cell phone plan and it's going to give me a free smartphone that I'm going to pay for over the next couple years. Maybe it's adapting that kind of a model, but we've certainly moved as a society where it's very uncommon for somebody to not have a smartphone. And that's crazy.
That's true.
That's crazy to think about.
It is, but it does so much more than a haptic suit. Like, I think what would have to happen is I think number one, the world would have to get much worse than it is now. Virtual reality would have to get, yeah. That's one thing we can count on. So, jeez, jaded, aren't we? So like it would have to get much worse. And then also VR would have to get much better to the point where, and then like, actually we had a few in the chat. Onsen had to go for movie time. That's awesome that you do that with your missus. But Mystic Rose also played Second Life, where it's an online community, a virtual community. I think there would have to be something like that. There's something like that in Ready Player One, the Oasis or whatever, where people are, it's not necessarily that every area is about combat and playing these games. You can even say like that video games have progressed since we were children, from the point of being definitely for children to turning into like, telling almost like a video game novel, where it's telling this story and it is for adults and that kind of thing. So, I could definitely see it.
You actually hit the nail on the head. And Ready Player One did as well, right? It comes out March 31st, 2018 at theaters near you. Thank you, Steven Spielberg. But, right, imagine, or we talked about feeling your weapons and shooting and blah, 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 but what types of high-risk industries require specialized training that would be much better suited to be in a virtual environment than a real world environment. One of the big ones that comes to mind to me is welding, right? Like welding is very important, especially high-rise welding, right? And well, how do you learn that skill? And granted, you can learn on the ground and you have to invest in a lot of equipment, or do it in a virtual environment. Imagine if trade schools shifted almost completely to where you did a lot of your training in virtual environments, right? Now all of a sudden this technology is much more needed across all socioeconomic statuses.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like for training, like training people to drive, right? You put them in a virtual reality simulator for.
That's a terrible example, actually. That's not, well, because we're not. I mean, 10 years from now, I'm surprised if I am driving.
Oh, self-driving cars.
Yeah,
that's very true. That's very true.
But I think that there's
risk,
a lot of
you could
of
train
skills and a lot of training that when you go to school, I mean, it might be putting on a pair of glasses and the haptic feedback gloves and learning how to operate a CNC machine in a virtual environment. Yeah. Surgery.
I think you guys are skipping over one very huge thing that, I mean, it's the elephant in the room at this point.
Sex?
Yes.
Is that what we're talking?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there.
Well, no, I mean, like, that's
You've been lonely, Mark? Are you lonely?
But it's true. Like, that's the sad part about it. Like, that's the first thing people would rig it up to do, to have long distance sex with each other. Don't pretend that's not the case, because that is the case. The internet is a dirty, dirty place because people are dirty.
But who would there's extra peripherals you would need to make for that.
Stop thinking about extra peripherals.
Not need to make, Yuna. This is a market opportunity, and for the low cost, you can buy in at the start. No, yeah, I mean, I think that the sex industry will have a place in this future. Probably not one that we want to overly emphasize, and probably not one that is going to drive.
Not on our show.
No, and it's not going to drive and shape the direction. I don't believe. I think what's more likely, just like how even the U.S. government has programs to ensure that lower income individuals, Medicaid eligible individuals, can have access to a smartphone. Education and training is very important to support our society. And if we as a society recognize that this technology can help train individuals to be more productive members of the society, I think the support will be there to ensure everybody has it in an affordable way, as long as the value is demonstrated. And I think in trade skills, that's where the value is likely to be demonstrated.
Yeah.
Certainly not in gaming, but the offset of that is we're going to benefit as gamers because we will leverage this technology for just entertainment as opposed to developing skills as well.
Yeah, I like it. I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm still going to give you long distance hugs, Gray. It has nothing to do with the porn industry.
Aww.
Hands up here, all right, buddy? Hands up here, all right?
Gray didn't comply.
By the way, haptic feedback and squeezing my butt in virtual reality is still harassment, Mark. It's still harassment.
Tell that like concert. Oh my gosh.
No. It's been a long day.
If she's a politician, we're gonna topple her, Gray. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. That dirty butt grabber that was behind us. She got to the bottom of it already. Yeah, we're at a music concert.
Quickly coming up to 2 hours.
He's changing the subject because of butt touches, but
yeah.
Butt touches.
You got us talking about sex peripherals, Mark Square.
She said peripherals. You
guys brought it up. I didn't get specific.
All right, so just as a closing thought, a woman behind us at a Pearl Jam show was grabbing Gray's butt pretty aggressively. I'm like saying it was, you were maybe 80-20 on it. Like, I'm not sure which one's 80 and which one's 20. But yeah, we moved away from her to protect Gray's virtue because she was just, super aggressive.
True story.
True story. And didn't even happen long distance with any haptic gear. It just happened in real life. If we could have attended that concert.
Struggles. Those are my struggles, Mark Square. That's what I have to deal with on a daily basis.
I know. Just shouldn't be such man candy, and then it wouldn't happen. Just
guys, I can't even.
She's like,
I know what a woman feels like at a concert.
Yeah, in all seriousness, I do want to say that like everything happening, we're joking about this, but like it is a very serious issue that like just the whole Me Too thing that happened, and it's really raised awareness that there's a lot of things that are happening that people are doing to one another, that one person is doing to another that is super out of bounds and super inappropriate, and shining a light on that is a way to make sure that not to make sure it doesn't happen. It's going to still happen because humans suck for the most part. But like at least the people that are terrible don't think that they're just going to get away with it because people are embarrassed to speak up. So yeah, wow, it got really dark at the end there. But thanks you guys for tuning in.
And I think just to emphasize on what Mark said is a lot of this is towards guys in our gender. Obviously, that concert thing was really weird that it was a female that decided that.
That's what was shocking about it.
But that doesn't make it okay.
It doesn't, certainly no, it didn't make it okay. But I would just say to anybody who has that type of mindset to think that that's okay, to just check yourself, right? Just, all right, the measuring stick isn't so far out that you can't read what's right and what's wrong. And these people that are getting called out in public right now, it's not news to them that their behavior was wrong, right? They are ashamed that they got caught, but it is not news that it's something that's inappropriate. So, look at yourself and take a moment to say, hey, be a better person. You know what's right, what's wrong, and quit grabbing my butt at concerts. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, sorry we got all deep on you guys at the end there, but it's important though. Just be excellent to each other, and that's what it takes. All right, so episode 17, I feel like was a success. We intended to not go over. In fact, it made us go an extra half hour. That intention. So anyway, we had fun though.
It was a great show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
We had Bungeee PlzZz, which is one of my new favorite segments. We went a lot of places. I think it was a fantastic show. Let's kind of wrap it up before Jelly takes us out with any shout outs or announcements, starting with Yuna.
Oh, shout outs or announcements. Oh, I don't know if I have any this week. Just eat lots of food tomorrow, be excellent to everyone, and love your fellow man.
Very good. Mark Square, what do you got for us, sir?
I'd like to do a shout out to Dan Finity this week. He and I are working on a new project together. He is coming out with his very own podcast, which I'm super excited about. I feel like Dan Finity has got the personality to make a very entertaining show. So Echo Mesa Content Club is coming to a iTunes near you. I'm going to help him on some things on there as well. So shout out to him, and shout out to him for being such a positive force in the community, being a great friend as well.
Big friend of the show, Dan Finity, raids with us quite awesome. Go check him out. He's a great guy.
He is.
And I just want to say, thank you to our listeners. Obviously, we're working hard to get this product that we love doing, and we do it just because we like hanging out with one another. But we love having everybody in the chat and interacting with us. We really enjoy the comments that we get on Twitter, the feedback there, our feedback Gmail, and then all the listeners that we're getting on iTunes. And this last episode, Taboo Buzzer for One, hit so far this week at 72, and that's pretty exceptional for us that have pretty much started from nothing, and we're building some momentum, and it's exciting and we have fun. I also want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with the family. Be patient with one another, and try to talk about politics and religion. That usually goes over pretty well at the dinner table.
Perfect.
Make sure your turkey is cooked to 160 degrees. If you're going to deep fry your turkey, make sure it isn't frozen when you put it in the deep fryer.
Splatter.
And then as Jelly gets ready to kind of take us out, you can find us on iTunes. Just search for Grenades and Horseshoes. We are the Grenades and Horseshoes podcast there. You can find us on on Twitter at GNH Show. Our feedback is gnhfeedback@gmail.com. Our Twitch, we stream at Mark Square and then also at GNH Show. Sometimes you can catch us on Planet Destiny as well. If you have ideas, send it our way. Reach out to us or our producers. Jelly, take us out.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you can't catch the live show, then you can find the replays on the Grenades and Horseshoes YouTube channel. If you'd like to stay connected to the community during the week, you can reach us at our show Twitter handle, @GNH Show, or at our individual handles, @MarkSquare_, @GreyGoes2E, and @Unalala. We're also open to any ideas you may have, or seeing any clips that you would like to send in. Please send the feedback to gnhfeedback@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.